welcome to your February 2024 astrology forecast. I know I look insane. These are literally my when SpongeBob goes jellyfish hunting glasses, but I have to wear them sometimes with the blue light, with the ring light, because the light really, it sucks my energy away. I don't know why that happens. Okay, I know this is also a little bit late, so please forgive me. I had a little bit of a week, the first week of February. Granted, this month's just pretty intense for everybody across the board. Intense, unpredictable, lots of stuff going on. Let's get into it. On the 5th, Mercury entered your 6th house, and on its way into your 6th house, it conjoined Pluto. Mercury is the planet of speaking, talking, writing, using your voice. You know this because you are ruled by Mercury. You're a chatty Cathy. You're incredibly articulate and intellectual. So anything that Mercury does is going to be a little bit more intense for you by default. And having it conjoin Pluto is really adding that intensity. It's really bringing this profound energy, the need to confront the truth, to pull the truth out of something, no matter how scary or gross or taboo that it looks. It's very transformative. It has a little bit of a touch of paranoia or like power and control dynamics, fear tactics, etc. So Mercury and Pluto is like anxiety. It is being intimidated. It is feeling afraid of something. It is really being an investigator to get down to the bottom of the truth. So having this in your 6th house now is a little bit more interesting because this is a little bit of more of a mundane area of the chart. This is your habits, your routines, your health, your lifestyle, the foods you eat, the appointments that you have, what time you get up in the morning, taking care of your pet, the labor that is required for the position of your job. It's your health. So having Mercury enter into your 6th house can look like conversations around health. It can look like confronting details of your lifestyle. It can look like having conversations about how much work you're putting into like helping somebody out in your personal life. And that conjunction to Pluto can be a little bit intense. It can be like, listen, we got to sit down and have a conversation, really talk about this, and can be, a little bit intimidating in that way. It can be finding out that you have a diagnosis and it being a little bit more of an intense moment. It can be, sorry about the noise. It can be, I would even say making like very profound changes to your health. Maybe something that you decide that's like very cutthroat, or ripping the band-aid off, like going from 0 to 100 and saying, that's it, I'm doing a diet, I'm working out, I'm quitting alcohol, I'm quitting smoking, like all those things at once. On the 7th, Venus in your 5th house was in a square to the nodes that are between your 8th and your 2nd house. So the nodes we know are always going to be directly opposite one another. That means that there's a need for balance between the two, and they're never going to break that opposition because it's not planets, it's an axis. So naturally you have a lot of focus for a much more of a longer term transit on what belongs to you, your money, your investments, your ownership, both literally like a house that's in your name, making a big purchase, but it's also your boundaries and your values. And the 8th house is going to be the things that are similar to that, but now what you share with other people. So it's not just yours, it's things that so you don't own the house, you share it on a lease with your boyfriend. You don't make these really big purchases because somebody else is funding them. You have to borrow money from them. These might be some of your boundaries, but it's also where you're powerless to kind of breaking your boundaries because of somebody else that has emotional power over you. So the focus is really there long term, but having Venus transiting through your 5th house, which is an exciting transit because Venus is the planet of love, money, beauty, pleasure, aesthetics, enjoyment. It brings that warm, fuzzy feeling. Having that go through the 5th house is great because the 5th house is quite selfish. It's everything that you want. It's joy, it's pleasure, it's sex, it's love, it's romance, it's children, it's pregnancy. So really great to have Venus going through the 5th house. Having it in that square to the nodes, though, can be an intense, pivotal moment, something very faded between how maybe what's going on lovey-dovey, or what's going on when it comes to creativity or your creative projects, or what's going on when it comes to what you want for yourself and your desires, is really at a tension point at this make or break moment with what belongs to you versus what is shared with or expected from others. For better or for worse, obviously it's going to affect you. It's going to show up differently depending on how it's configured in your chart. But this might be like making an important decision. Like, is this the type of relationship I want? This is the thing that I want for myself goals wise, but if it's going to cause an issue with the relationship I'm in, like, is it really worth it? It can be really big financial decisions. It can be making money off of your talents and your creativity. All those things are likely here. On the 8th, the sun in your 8th house, nope, that doesn't make sense actually. The sun is in your Virgo, Pisces, the sun is in your 6th house currently. So there's a lot of focus on your 6th house the first half, but really the whole month, but the first half of February. So the sun is really putting the illumination, the spotlight again on your 6th house of health, work, routine, lifestyle, the nitty-gritty of your everyday life and what makes up your lifestyle. Having the sun square Uranus, which is actually in your 9th house of traveling, faith, philosophy, getting outside of your comfort zone, expanding beyond your typical parameters, breaking the walls that you're limited to. It's traveling, it's education, it's taking a course, it's going to school, it's practicing a new language, it's learning about your culture, it is making friends from far away, it is getting outside of the things that are very usual to you. So having a square between Uranus and the sun, again, 6th house of, we'll say, job, health, habits, and then your 9th house of comfort zone, traveling, and education, there's a shocking or unpredictable or shaking the table sort of vibe, maybe around a piece of information that you learn about your health, or an opportunity that comes up to travel for work, or getting outside of your comfort zone and thus changing the way that your life looks on a day-to-day basis. Again, Uranus and sun aspects across the board, this is going to be like a little bit of a day that can be unpredictable. It can be like, oh, I wasn't expecting this. It can be a sense of liberation, rebellion, pushing back against something, choosing authenticity, even if it kind of ruffles some feathers. On the 13th, Mars is going to enter your 6th house, and then the next day on the 14th, on Valentine's Day, Mars is going to conjoin Pluto now that it's entered your 6th house. Valentine's Day across the board is like so intense and volatile and violent for no reason. Like unnecessarily, everybody's gonna be having quite an intense Valentine's Day. It's not to say it's bad. There is some good aspects happening, but like this is a very profound configuration that we have here because Mars is like action, assertion, aggression. It's how we go after the things that we want. It's how we passionately defend ourselves. It is how we relentlessly pursue our desires. So it's very pushy. It likes to push. It doesn't stop. It has a goal in mind and it's going to relentlessly go after it despite obstacles that come in the way. Having that conjoined Pluto, again, being power and control dynamics, fear, paranoia, control, intensity around like an energy that can be very overbearing. It's kind of like Grim Reaper, Gothic vibes, right? Having those two things come together is profound changes. It is intense war. It is profound truths that can start an argument. I don't want to say, you know, I try to always say it doesn't always have to be bad, but sometimes it's just aggressive. Like that's the word I'll choose. Maybe it's not bad, it's aggressive in nature. Having this in your 6th house, again, to have this in such a typical day-to-day area of the chart, I'm like, you gotta be changing something with your habits, or you're having some breakthrough or breakdown with your health, or there's some sort of like really standing on business or putting your foot down when it comes to like how you're helping other people or how you're of service to other people. The 6th house is really like also struggle and just challenge, where you are strenuously pushed in life in general. So this can just be a make or break moment, like when a push comes to shove sort of thing, where you're just like really cracking under pressure, or there's just like a bunch of what is little mundane mercurial themes piling up on you at once, where it's just like there's a lot on your shoulders. Having this around Valentine's Day, maybe work is demanding on a day that you just want to chill out. Maybe there is like a health issue that's getting in the way of, I mean, not everything's about Valentine's Day. It's just like those are the focal points right now. Granted, this is in the middle of the week. I believe Valentine's Day is on a Wednesday. You can have plans on the weekend, which I would recommend 100%, because Venus is going to enter your 6th house just 2 days later on the 16th. Venus will warm and soothe and relax any tension, damage, or abrasions that Mars has caused. Mars comes in like a tornado and it knocks things over. It gets everyone all riled up. It gets the dog going. And then Venus comes in and puts a Band-Aid on it and is like, all right, everybody sit down. Everybody calm down. Like, let's relax, and gets everyone to kind of come back to a normal heart rate. So Venus likes to warm up any area that it goes through. It's leaving your 5th house of love, sex, romance, pregnancy, children, creativity, joy, things that feel good to you, and is now going into the area of your life that's like, maybe we should find more ease or more pleasure in our workout routine and decorating our office that we have to sit in every day, and maybe making our plate a little bit healthier and prettier so we feel better. So I feel like whatever conflict might come up mid-month, literally just a few days later, Venus is helping you out. On the 17th, we're gonna have Mercury square Uranus, so more shock, unpredictability, shaking the table when it comes to communication now. So this is, again, speaking, talking, writing, using your voice. It's text, it's emails, it's posts, it's the books you read, it's the podcasts you listen to, it's what you're going to hear on the news, it's the things people are going to be talking about at work, it's just the daily convo that day, the daily tea. So having this square Uranus again is like shock, unpredictability. Oh my God, what did you say was on the news? Oh my God, this is the new protocol? Oh my God, what are we gonna do with it? Like, how are we gonna adapt to this? Again, liberation, rebellion, shock. This is likely to be something that we more so see in the news and like politically, or maybe with like the stock market or technology or transportation. I would definitely be careful about transportation that day. Be careful with accidents, with road rage, with shocking yourself with an electrical cord, with forgetting to turn the stove off that day, things like that. But Venus is also going to be conjunct Pluto on that same day. So let's say you are making a pretty shocking announcement, or let's say you are having a pretty abrupt conversation with your partner, or let's say you are feeling very frisky that day and you're like, you know what, I'm just going to do things differently than I normally do. I'm going to handle this situation a little bit more sporadically, maybe a little bit more impulsively. This is now in regards to love and romance and relationships. Venus conjunct Pluto brings, again, power and control dynamics, intensity, profound change to now your relationships and your beauty and your finances. You might make a big financial decision that day that's unexpected, where you have to just do it. Maybe like you forgot you had to pay a bill or a debt or something, and you're like, oh my God, I need to take care of this right now. It can be that you do have a very impulsive conversation with a partner and you're like, listen, I thought about it, I can't do this anymore. Like, I don't want to think about this more. I don't want to talk about this more. Like, we're done. Like, I'm sorry, this is just not working for me anymore. I need to do what's right for me. It can also be just these themes intensifying around this day in particular, and then it sorts itself out later. Again, it doesn't always have to be the worst thing in the world. On the 19th, the sun is going to enter your 7th house. So we're really shifting from the 6th house of your health, your routine, your lifestyle, the nitty gritty of every day, to the second half of the month, shifting to your 7th house of now the people closest to you, your relationships, your business partnerships, your romantic partner, your interpersonal relationships, the people you're really close with. So having Mercury, or having the sun on the 19th enter here, and then just a few days later, Mercury on the 23rd is going to enter here. All of our attention is really starting to go to the people closest to you. So again, not just you anymore, but how other people play into your life, the conversations you need to have with other people. Your relationships are now becoming in the spotlight. On the 24th, you're going to be having a full moon in your 1st house. So you're the main character this month. You're one of them because you're having a full moon. So a closing of a chapter, a closing of a cycle, a wrapping up of loose ends in regards to something that began back in September of 2023. Mid-September, September 15th-ish, you began something new about yourself. Maybe you changed your look, maybe you got pregnant, maybe you started a new relationship, maybe you ended a relationship and now you started to be single for a little bit, maybe you had new goals, you were rebranding a little bit, you were shaking up your habits, you're like, this is going to be my lifestyle now. We have now had 6 months since then, and this is the full moon. This is the wrapping up of kind of what was beginning back then, and having like a moment of fin, like completion, full circle. Doesn't have to be bad either. It can have to do with your relationships because it is on the axis of you versus the people close to you. But this one is a little bit tense because you have Saturn in your 7th house of relationships, and it's naturally going to oppose to the degree Saturn. So it can be a little bit tough on the relationships. It can be a little bit strenuous. It can be a little bit limiting and restricting. Somebody close to you might be trying to limit you. Somebody that you have a relationship with might be making things a little bit more challenging for you right now. This might be a little bit of a triggering month for you, to be quite honest, but it looks like the devil's in the details, and you can kind of turn your fate to be a little bit more favorable for you based off of the little tweaks you can make, again, in your habits, routine, your diet, your health. Really, like, don't gloss over your health. If you have like mood issues right now, or you're just like, in a funk, or you just have lost kind of like your inspiration, you don't feel quite like yourself, go back to the, drawing board, go back to square one. You're ruled by Mercury, you're good at this stuff. Just jumble some things around with your habits, your routines, like get yourself back in a little bit of a, regimen, and it might be something that really supports you right now. On the 25th, we're having Venus square Jupiter. Really great day, good luck, good fortune, abundance, good day to press your luck a little bit and just play with it, buy a scratch off. Don't do anything, life-changing, but there can be just some more favorable energy in the air. At the very worst, it's over excessive. It's like you overdid it. You're being a little bit extra today. You blew too much money at the mall on a shopping spree. You ate way too much at dinner that you went out to that night. You talked the talk, but then you didn't walk the walk and you couldn't back it up. It's a little bit more like excess or overconfident in some ways. And then on the 28th, we're ending the month with Mercury conjunct Saturn in your 7th house of relationships. So around mid-month, we had that shocking conversation, right? Or that unpredictable announcement, or that unexpected sort of dialogue with somebody close to us. And by the end of the month on the 28th, it looks like you're kind of having a serious conversation, making a serious decision, maybe doing the thing you don't want to do, but that you have to do, being an adult, being a grown-up, being mature, disciplined, and responsible about some form of communication, some decision, or some detail moving forward. And again, it's likely to have to do with somebody very close to you, romantic, sorry, I did not mean to flick you off, romantic, platonic, or like familial, interpersonal, any sort of thing where you have a shared goal or a tight relationship with somebody. It looks like Saturn might be toughening you up this month, where you have to be a little bit more independent, you have to stand your ground, you have to set a boundary, etc. That is all I can give you this month, Virgo. I'm excited for you. Again, you're one of the more main characters. I'd love to hear what you're going through, because I am a little bit curious, if I'm being quite honest. I'm being a little bit nosy, but I'd love to hear what you guys are going through. Thank you so much for being so supportive. If you watch this far, when I look like this, it means a lot to me. I always say, if you need someone to talk to because of what you're going through and you're like, nobody understands it, the best people to speak to are the ones that have the same rising sign as you, because they're likely going through something very similar. So share what you're going through in the comments if this resonated with you, or any questions that you might have. If you want to book a personal reading, that will give you a much more in-depth description of how this month is going to be affecting you in particular, based off of your personal, natal chart and your personal configurations of the planets. But I hope that this helped you guys. I hope you had an amazing month, and I hope that you have a wonderful Valentine's Day. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.